Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It's Christmas Eve. It is Tuesday, December 24th, 2024. Today's topic I'm just going to call Advanced Drawing Concepts. For lack of a better title. And I'll just talk about how I got here. This is a continuation from yesterday's video. But before we get into all of that, I want to welcome you back if you are returning. And welcome you if you're new. I sketch and post every day, even on Christmas Eve, even on Christmas, on holidays. And I use timers to stay focused and to build a sketching habit. So I'm going to use a 10-minute timer, which I started now. So if you want to use these videos as a timer, you can do that. You can use them as ideas. Also, if you just want to follow along, you can skip around. I do them to where they tend to go kind of together, like consecutively. So you can always go to the previous days, but it's not always like that. And I also do my best to contain them as individual videos. But yeah, if you want to know how I got here, although it looks very different from yesterday, the composition is basically the same, but the characters they look different. Well, they look more developed. And so yeah, just to stay focused on the topic here, advanced drawing concepts. So that's a big part of it. So yesterday's video was about artistic style. So I'm not going to do like a ton because I did a ton right here. But I just wanted to go over what I did. Let me zoom in. So to begin with, so yeah, yesterday's video was called Artistic Style, and I went over the Art of Sedone triad, the AOS triad, which I'm gonna paint over, but it was imagination, study, and style. And so yesterday was about like the style. So you can see like the style. You can see that the characters look different, although they do look like the same character. So in a way, I'm kind of showing how to do the same character like in a different style, which I think is helpful if that's something you're interested in, is like the style. And so for me, the reason I'm going to call this video like advanced is kind of like that. Is sort of, first of all, I'm designing these characters, so it's for world building. And zoom back out again. That's kind of advanced, honestly. Just designing characters in and of itself isn't like that advanced. I mean, you can do that as a beginner, and it does take practice, and there's an art to it. It's its own like thing, but it is something, yeah, that you could focus on, like a specialty kind of thing. And then you'll notice in yesterday's video, and so as I'm speaking, I'm going to go ahead and start to sketch a little bit. I'm just going to work on these characters here, and I'm not going to do like a ton because part of it is this was from imagination, so I'm not exactly sure. I'm just kind of making stuff up here. What was I saying? Yeah, character design. So that's part of the challenge is the character design, and then the other challenge is drawing. So I think in yesterday's video, to me, like, I'm always going to use the basics. As you can see, like, the basics are all in here. I don't call it beginner because I don't think like yesterday's video and like especially like today's video, I wouldn't say that it's for beginners, although you can watch it. I mean, it would be helpful, but I'm not expecting you to be able to like pull this off. that the basics are still here, such as figure drawing and like shading or values, stuff like that. So, and like composition and stuff. So you always need like the basics. And in fact, that's kind of what I'll talk about as far as like what makes it advanced, like what's going on like here that makes it advanced. So since I've been drawing for like kind of a long time, I kind of want, so I did a series of videos that talked about like the artistic journey and like my own artistic journey, and that it doesn't really matter like when you get started. I mean, it matters, I guess, if you're going to compare yourself to others, but that's not good. Like, I have to remind myself of that too. But what matters is knowing where you're at. So it's kind of like, if we are going to talk about the artistic journey and kind of think about it as a journey, which isn't a bad thing to think about it like that. I mean, I think it's helpful. It's a helpful metaphor. So if you think about it like that, like if you're traveling somewhere, I mean, does it really matter what other people are up to if you have like a destination, like you want to go somewhere and that's your goal and that's what you're focused on? I mean, it doesn't really matter like if other people have been on the journey or they're going to some other place or something like that. Like that's not really what you want to be focused on. You want to be focused on like where you're going and getting there, like in the best way. So I bring up things like the beginner or intermediate or advanced phases of the journey, not for comparison, but rather when you're on, like if you're using a map and you're on a journey, it's good to know that where the beginning and the middle and like the end of the journey is. I think it's helpful. But at the same time, like right now, like as I'm sketching and stuff, I'm just driving, so to speak, or I'm just like, yeah, like going on the journey. So there's that too, sort of enjoy the journey kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, if you can know where you're at, it's helpful to navigate so you don't feel completely lost. And this is as much for my benefit also, because just to compare the difference between, so there could be some highlights here, but this is kind of detailing, final detail just for like this area. So I'm not going to do anything that's gonna, because it took me about a couple hours to do this. And I basically the composition's the same and the characters are basically the same. I didn't really know what they look like, so that was part of the challenge. But yeah, I basically redrew them. So where was I? So yeah, going back to the difference between like the intermediate and like the advanced. So the reason that I know the difference for myself is that for me to, because what happened was, yeah, I'm still designing the characters and I'm still playing around and experimenting with like technique and stuff. And part of like that transition to a more advanced level, it has to do with dissatisfaction or just wanting to like push like the work. And so that's what this is. This is basically mixed media, so the tools I use are like these color pens, felt tip pens, these brush pens, and I mean you can use, these are just stuff that I found at Walmart. So Papermate, Sharpies, and also like light color markers, just to get this much. And I would still call this like a sketch. I would call it preliminary art. Maybe it can be a little bit beyond a sketch. However, I wouldn't, for example, feel like this is ready for like a book cover or something. I guess I can zoom in just for interest for the sake of the video. But yeah, I wouldn't call this like cover ready, book cover ready. So that's 10 minutes. I'll start another one. I'm not necessarily gonna make this video too long because I know it's Christmas Eve, and yeah, I mean, I kind of want to relax too. But I mean, I know that people can watch this whenever. And part of it is because I need to kind of not look at this. That's the other thing, is to kind of just leave it alone after a while. What was I saying? Oh, so like the intermediate and advanced levels. So one, at an intermediate level, I don't know that I could pull this off at all. There's that. It's like I had a good chance to pull it off, but it's still kind of it wouldn't be like guaranteed, I guess. Who knows? I mean, I would have pulled it off somehow, but that's kind of my point. Like, it would have taken a lot longer. So what happened was, in yesterday's video, afterwards I usually, so when I make these videos, they're their own thing. Like, they're not, it's not like, it's not where I do my work, as it were. Like, the video is the work. And the information, like what I'm talking about, is like, to me, and also showing up and making the video like consistently, like, to me, like, that's what the work is for my YouTube channel. And that's, I'm happy about that, because I've talked about how I've worked at jobs that were not art related as recently as last year. And now that I can do this, like, it's a blessing and an opportunity. So I'm just going to approach it like that. I mean, I would get up on time and go to work on time. So I'm just approaching making the videos like that. However, if I can bring something extra to it, well, that's good too. And so the extra thing, I guess, is kind of the artwork and my experience and ideas. But I treat it kind of like that. Like, if I were working at a job, it would be up to me to come home and work on whatever else I was going to work on. And so that's what I treat, like, the books that I'm writing and like the world that I'm building. So anyway, that's what I did yesterday. I worked on it, and I feel like at an intermediate level, that, so part of what I'm doing here is that, since it's mixed media, like, it kind of changes. Sometimes the colors fade and stuff like that. But yeah, at an intermediate level, I feel like from yesterday's video, since it was about style, like, you should have a pretty clear idea about like what your style is going to be, or what you want it to be. And so at that point, you're probably going to be looking at, like, for example, what I'm doing or what someone else is doing, or whatever style that you're into, because that's what I did. And you're probably going to, yeah, like, want to figure out, because that's like the advanced that you're looking at, or maybe like an advanced intermediate or something like that. And that's just kind of how that works. Sort of like with music, you're gonna sort of emulate, like, I mean, anything, you're gonna like kind of emulate the people that you feel are really good at what they're doing. So the difference, I guess, kind of how you know, like, if you've leveled up or not from like the intermediate, is one, kind of like what I was doing, where there's going to be a sense of kind of wanting to push your comfort zone, and also like a sense of dissatisfaction, and it just kind of comes with the territory. But it's going to be this, like, you're not satisfied, although to anyone else, like, they probably wouldn't but like to you, like to some kind of inner, like, gut feeling, you're not going to be satisfied. And so it's that plateau thing that I was talking about, where, but there's a really big difference between the plateau of like when you're beginning versus when you're intermediate versus when you're like advanced. So for me, for example, like I still had to redo, let me zoom out, keep the video kind of interesting. So it doesn't mean that I'm not gonna have to like redraw things because I did. But the difference is, one, first of all, it feels frustrating. But it's so interesting to me because the idea is that literally there's technology now that you can type something in and have a machine spit out version after version and like finished looking. And yet that's not what it's about. Like I could do that. Like I've done that just to play around with it, experiment with it. And I realized like, yeah, it's taking away the thing that, like the purpose of doing it. The purpose of doing this is because it's kind of like if you want to play a sport, but instead you just have someone else or like have a machine play the sport for you, which is entertainment, I guess. And so, yeah, that's why I was saying about these image generators. Use it for entertainment purposes, but to go in anywhere beyond that is a joke. It's just to claim that you are the athlete or the artist or something is absurd. Now, if you're gonna say that, okay, well, it's a medium, then fine. I mean, then it's a medium, kind of like the way that I call this drawing, but like you can see that like there's painting. There's a lot of it kind of goes towards painting, and in fact, although I consider this preliminary artwork, it really sets me up for painting like a lot. Like so, that's kind of why I like that. So in fact, I could just scan this in and basically just touch it up and make it look like nicer, I guess, digitally. That would be like the easiest thing. Now the argument could also be, well, isn't that what some of the image generators are doing and like prompting and stuff? Yeah, I know. Like I know what it is. I've done it, and it just makes you weak. Like it makes your art weak. If it made me stronger, I would do it, but it just makes the work weaker. But yeah, I mean that's my opinion, and I've done this for a really long time. I mean, I've done this basically. This is the most, like, art is the thing that I've done more than anything. So, as far as like just activity, like skill and whatnot, and interest. So, just going back to like the advanced thing, the advanced concepts thing. So part of it is, if you're a beginner, like I'm very supportive of anyone that wants to get into sketching, drawing, painting, creating, but like doing it in a way that makes you like stronger and makes you better at what you're doing at art. I'm not saying you have to do like the style or you have to draw or use pen or pen. I mean, that's not the thing. I'm talking about actually learning artistic like concepts and artistic skills and artistic like philosophy about what makes a good story and what makes a good picture and what makes a good like body of work and contributing to the art collective. But anyway, that's kind of another topic, but I'm passionate about it, and that's an advanced kind of thing too, by the way. Like you do want to think about what exactly are you contributing. I think that's 10 minutes. I'll start another one. I'm just kind of making up this outfit here. I'm not sure. Plus, I don't want to mess up the picture. So I'll start another 10-minute timer. But yeah, just kind of circling back around to the topic here. So, as an intermediate artist, like even right now, like as more advanced, like I felt the irritation or the frustration. Yeah, now I remember what my point was. It's this idea that like you just want to be able to basically manifest like the picture that you want without having to redo it and stuff like that. And that was kind of my original point that kind of had me talking, like going on a tangent about AI images. Is that's the temptation, and that's the frustration of like, oh, like now I gotta like work on it some more, or that you messed it up or whatever. And when you're at the intermediate stage, you're going to work on it because that's why you're intermediate, for whatever reason that you are intermediate. You're going to work on it. But you're probably going to feel frustrated, and you may not be able to pull it off. You may not be able to. And by pull it off, I mean come up with a picture that's better in a way that's not, that doesn't make you want to like jump off a building, so to speak. Don't do that. But yeah, so that's what I was saying about in the past. Now, a lot of my freelance work, where I kind of, what's the saying, kind of something about teeth. Broke my teeth, is that the saying? But where I gained experience, obviously you can get away with a lot more. But like kind of going back to the idea of the AI images, it doesn't, like maybe you have to do it at first, but it's not good for you in the long run, is what I'm getting at. It's you're gonna see. I mean, even with like yesterday, from yesterday to here, like I felt I could have done it in a certain way, or I could have just left it or whatever, but I wanted to push myself, and so like that's the thing. And I mean, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So people can, if you truly want to have your vision come to life, you'll find a way, and it doesn't have to be through drawing. I mean, it doesn't have to be. So in the previous videos where I talked about like the artistic journey and stuff, this was about a couple of weeks ago, I talked about how, like, that's why I'm calling it advanced drawing concepts, is because it is conceptual. Part of it is the skill, of course. It's whatever medium that you're using. So as a beginner, you really kind of have to just experiment, and I mean, I have a lot of videos that help, and I'll continue to make videos like that. But it's kind of like writing. That's like another thing that I am working on, is like if you're still figuring out like how to write stuff, which I am. I mean, like good dialogue and good paragraphs and scenes and stuff. I mean, that's intermediate type stuff. Like getting good at that kind of stuff. And then beyond that, yeah, you can then you can get kind of like more complex and more and pull it off. And I think that's really what it is, like doing it, but like being able to pull it off, like being able to make it work. I mean, this is basically overworked, but not really. I mean, I redid it, so that's kind of like another thing, is knowing when to. So these are just the difference, I think, between maybe the way that I did stuff, which I think by any stretch is intermediate, because I mean, it just kind of was. And you can make a living at doing intermediate art, and so that's the other thing too, and that's why I kind of called that like the kind of a long stretch of, and you can kind of be there for a long time, but it's that kind of getting out of your comfort zone and having the courage in a way to mess up and to push yourself, but to like, for the sake of like the character and like the story and stuff, like you're willing to do it. But like, so that's kind of an intermediate artist wanting to level up, but then you'll know when you have actually leveled up by the fact that it's easier, so that you're still doing the same stuff, but it doesn't take you 50 or 100 attempts. It might take you, like what I did was a couple of hours, and it really didn't take that many attempts. And part of it is because I'm still pushing myself. I'm still pushing myself in the medium and like also the character design. So for example, now that I have this, it's much easier because I can see what they look like. I didn't know what they look like. So yeah, it's just stuff like that. So I'll keep talking about this kind of thing. Like right here, like I'm not really sure what to do here. I'll probably browse because I don't want to mess it up, because it took me a while to even get this far. Part of it was, yeah, like I didn't really know what they look like. And that's the other thing about like the advanced too, is you start to have more of a conversation with the art and not so much fighting with like the technique and the skill. Because at an intermediate level, you're able to draw and you're able to paint, like specifically, like that's what I'm talking about, like visually. But like you kind of just have to do that a lot, like over and over and over. And it'll be fun in the sense that, I mean, it could be frustrating because you're still kind of learning, but like it can be fun in the sense that you'll be able to have like good looking pictures. But then beyond that, you want to be able to kind of become like sort of unconscious about like the technique and more about like what is the character wanting to do, like what character wants to emerge, and like what look wants to emerge, like what style wants, just to go off of yesterday's video. So yeah, like what style wants to come out, and not just staring at reference. So that's kind of what you do also as an intermediate, is like you're just copying style and copying pictures and stuff, and that's good. I mean, that's how you get better. But then you'll reach a point where where's your idea gonna come from? Like where's the character gonna come from, or like the story or the feeling? Because even if it's not like a narrative, it's also like where's the feeling gonna come from, and how is it going to, because that's the only way it's really gonna stand out, is you yourself. Just coming up with pretty pictures is not going to make it stand out. And I wouldn't say that to like a beginner, or I wouldn't say that necessarily to like an intermediate artist. But like if you are starting to want to level up and be more advanced in your work, because it's the work. Ultimately, it's all work. And so if you want to do the best work that you can, which I do, that's what I'm talking about, and that's what my channel is about. So you have to challenge yourself. And then instead of the art or your work becoming the enemy, you start to understand it and you start to have a relationship with it and converse with it. Like it's not trying to make you look bad or be dumb or whatever. And so then you don't have to worry so much about what people say about anything, because you already know, like you know what you're doing and you know what you want to achieve, and you know what you want your body of work to be about. But that'll be it for now. I want to thank you for joining me today on Christmas Eve. I'll be here tomorrow. But yeah, have a good holiday. And if you like these videos, please support the channel. I appreciate it. And until next time, keep on sketching.